They laughed at the human princess until she struck with deadly precision. Aliens from hundreds of worlds moved gracefully across the polished floor, each species more strange and magnificent than the next. Tentacles, scales, wings, bioluminescent skin, every form of life imaginable crowded the chamber. Humans were rare here, and the youngest human ever invited stood at the center of this spectacle, feeling the weight of thousands of skeptical eyes. Lyra Solen, the human princess, straightened her posture and held her chin high. Her long auburn hair shimmered softly in the lights, and her emerald eyes scanned the room with careful precision. At 14, she was smaller than many of the species present, but she carried herself with a quiet confidence that even the elders found difficult to ignore. Still, whispers traveled quickly, and the laughter that began in the corners of the hall was unmistakable. "Look at her," hissed a tall, insected diplomat, his segmented eyes narrowing. "She thinks she belongs here among equals." "She is barely old enough to command a starship," said a floating jelly-like creature with shimmering tendrils. "Perhaps humans are only good for making themselves look foolish." Lyra's jaw tightened slightly. She did not respond. She had learned long ago that listening was the most powerful weapon, especially when others assumed you were weak. Her tutors had warned her about this day, that she would face ridicule, and she had spent countless hours preparing herself, not with swords or lasers, but with observation and calculation. Every movement, every gesture, every conversation was data, and she intended to use it. The head of the council, a massive being with metallic wings and eyes like liquid gold, raised his hands to quiet the crowd. "Let the human princess speak," he intoned, his voice deep enough to resonate in the bones. "She has come to propose a new alliance and to present her ideas for interstellar exploration. Let us hear her wisdom before we judge her." Lyra stepped forward, her small boots echoing on the floor. The laughter subsided but left a faint ripple in the hall, like a storm barely held in check. She took a deep breath and allowed herself a moment to observe the council. The aliens had grown arrogant over centuries of technological dominance. They believed their intelligence, their advanced ships, and their history of conquest placed them above any human. "They underestimate us," Lyra whispered to herself. Her voice was soft, almost inaudible, but her words carried the weight of resolve. Humans had always been underestimated. On their home planet Earth, they had survived plagues, wars, and disasters that had ended other species. They had explored continents, invented machines, built civilizations from scratch, and yet in this vast galaxy they were dismissed as simple and fragile. Lyra began to speak, her tone calm, measured, and clear. "Honored members of the Galactic Council," she said. "I am Lyra Solen, Princess of Earth. I come not only to represent my people, but to remind this galaxy that humans are capable of more than you may believe." A ripple of laughter ran through the council again, louder this time. The humans, past failures in space, their slow technological progress compared to most alien worlds, and their perceived fragility were fresh in the minds of these diplomats. A spindly creature with multiple eyes waved its claws dismissively. "Childish words from a human," it said. "What can a human princess possibly know about the dangers of the stars? What can she offer us that we do not already possess in abundance?" Lyra's fingers tightened around the small staff she carried, a ceremonial symbol of her office. She did not raise her voice or argue back. She waited. Her words would come, but timing was everything. She knew that impulsive responses only revealed weakness. Instead, she began to outline a proposal, an ambitious plan to explore uncharted sectors of the galaxy, locate new resources, and establish peaceful contacts with civilizations humans had never met. She spoke of precision mapping of asteroid belts, calculated trade routes, and the potential for scientific collaboration that could benefit all species. She spoke slowly, deliberately, choosing words that even the most distracted alien could understand. The council members murmured among themselves. Some were curious, but most still saw this as entertaining novelty. They whispered about how naive humans were, how they survived on luck and improvisation rather than skill or intelligence. Lyra's cheeks flushed slightly, not from fear, but from the energy she felt coursing through her mind. She could feel it, their weakness, their overconfidence, and she smiled inwardly. After she finished, the council demanded questions. One by one, the aliens challenged her, speaking in tones dripping with sarcasm. How will humans navigate a star system when they cannot even survive 1 year in the cold void of space? Asked a winged species with iridescent feathers. How can humans fight when they have no natural armor or built-in defenses? Lyra listened, nodding politely. Each question was a clue, a window into the aliens' assumptions and fears. When she spoke, her answers were precise, combining science, strategy, and logic. She described human engineering, the way they adapted tools for multiple purposes, and their ability to improvise in situations no other species could endure. She explained that humans were resilient, that they learned quickly, and that their determination often overcame obstacles far greater than physical strength or raw technology. By the time she concluded, some of the laughter had faded. A few council members looked genuinely intrigued, though none would admit it openly. Lyra's heart did not soar with pride. There was work to be done, and she knew this was only the beginning. After the session, she retreated to her quarters aboard the council station. She removed her ceremonial robes and sat at the small desk near the window, overlooking the swirling stars. Her mind replayed every interaction, every sneer, every challenge. She had learned more in this single day than she had in months of training. Her advisor, a wise human scientist named Elias, joined her. His gray hair framed a face lined with experience, and his eyes held a mixture of pride and concern. "You did well today," he said softly. "But you must remember, Princess, they will not respect you until you force them to. Words alone are rarely enough." Lyra nodded. "I understand. They laughed at me today, Elias, but I am learning their patterns, their weaknesses. Soon they will see that laughter is dangerous when directed at humans." Elias smiled faintly. "That is the right attitude. Patience and observation are the greatest weapons you have. Never reveal all your power at once. Let them underestimate you. Let them mock you. Then when the moment comes, they will not see it until it is too late." Lyra leaned back in her chair and stared out at the stars. She thought of Earth, her home, and the people who had survived countless hardships. Humans were not the strongest, nor the fastest, nor the most technologically advanced, but they had something every alien underestimated: imagination, creativity, and an unbreakable will. The next day brought another session with the council, this time a more practical demonstration. Lyra requested permission to simulate a small interstellar mission using human-designed techniques. The aliens, still dismissive, allowed it, curious to see the humans' so-called ingenuity in action. Lyra's plan was simple on the surface but brilliant in execution. She would navigate a virtual asteroid field, collect simulated resources, and transport them safely to a designated station. She assigned roles to her human crew members, each carefully selected for intelligence, skill, and adaptability. Then she waited, observing the aliens' expressions as her team began the simulation. The aliens scoffed openly. "Watch them fail," muttered a spiked reptilian diplomat. "They cannot even calculate basic trajectories." Lyra ignored them. Every calculation her team made was flawless, every maneuver precise. The simulation was completed with perfect success. Resources were collected, transport routes optimized, and not a single crew member failed in their task. The room fell silent. The council members stared at the display, unable to deny what they had witnessed. "Impressive," murmured the metallic-winged head of the council. "It seems humans have more skill than we credited them." Lyra allowed herself a small smile, though it was subtle. "Humans may not be the fastest or the strongest," she said, "but we adapt, we observe, and when the time comes, we strike with precision." Even the mocking aliens felt a shiver of unease. Something in her words, in the quiet confidence behind them, suggested that this human princess was far more capable than they imagined. That night, as Lyra walked through the observation deck, she reflected on the day. She had survived ridicule, turned it into an opportunity, and demonstrated human skill in a way that even the council could not ignore. But she knew this was only the first step. The galaxy was full of challenges, dangers, and enemies who would underestimate humans at every turn. And that was exactly how she liked it. Lyra clenched her fists and whispered to herself, "Let them laugh, let them doubt. The galaxy will see what humans are truly capable of." The stars outside twinkled in silent approval, and the human princess began to prepare for the moment when she would strike, not with anger, but with precision and intelligence the galaxy would never forget. The following morning, the Galactic Council gathered once again in the Great Hall. The aliens had not forgotten the success of the human princess, and murmurs of curiosity replaced some of the earlier laughter. Still, most doubted her abilities. Lyra Solen knew this well. Doubt was a tool. It could make enemies careless, give her openings, and sharpen her own mind. Today was different. A crisis had erupted near the edge of human space. A fleet of rogue mercenaries, creatures with reputation for ruthlessness, had attacked a human trade convoy carrying critical supplies. The Council argued endlessly about who should respond. The alien fleets hesitated, calculating risk, debating strategy, and worrying about the cost. Humans were considered weak, their ships fragile, their people expendable. Lyra could feel the tension like a storm before the rain. Every second of delay meant lives lost. "We cannot wait," Lyra said quietly to Elias as they observed the Council's indecision from the observation chamber. "If we do, those humans will die. I need to act." Elias frowned. "It is dangerous, Princess. They will see humans as easy prey. Leading a strike could cost you and your crew dearly." Lyra's eyes glimmered with determination. "It is not only about fighting," she said. "It is about showing them that humans are precise, clever, and courageous. We survive because we think, we adapt, and we do not give up." When she requested permission to lead a small strike team to intercept the mercenaries, the Council laughed again. They saw this as a dangerous, foolish move, a child stepping where only experienced warriors should tread. But curiosity, and perhaps some hidden respect, allowed her to proceed. Lyra's team was small, 10 humans, each trained in combat, navigation, and engineering, and each hand-picked for intelligence and adaptability. Their ships were sleek but lightly armed compared to the heavily fortified mercenary vessels. The odds were against them, but Lyra did not see this as a disadvantage. She saw an opportunity. Before departure, she gathered her crew. "Remember," she said, "the mercenaries expect us to fail. They expect us to panic and make mistakes. We will not give them that chance. Precision, timing, and observation will be our weapons. Every move we make will be calculated. Every decision will be deliberate. If we act wisely, we will win." The crew nodded, their trust in her complete. Humans were small in the galaxy, but when they worked together, their coordination was almost unmatched. Lyra's plan was unconventional. Instead of engaging directly, she proposed using the environment to their advantage. She studied star charts, asteroid positions, and the likely patrol routes of the mercenaries. She calculated where they would make mistakes, where they would expose weaknesses, and where her team could strike with maximum effect while minimizing risk. The first encounter was tense. Sensors detected the rogue fleet moving through a dense asteroid belt. The mercenaries, confident in their firepower, had not considered the hazards. Lyra's team used this to their advantage. The humans navigated through narrow gaps, using the asteroids for cover, while the mercenaries struggled to keep formation. "Adjust the thrusters by 2 degrees starboard," Lyra ordered. Her voice was calm, precise, unwavering. Her crew responded instantly. Each human knew their role, each movement rehearsed yet adaptable. A few mercenary ships tried to flank them. Lyra anticipated this. She had placed decoys in the asteroid shadows. As the enemy pursued, they were funneled into narrow passages where human ships could strike from unexpected angles. One by one, mercenary vessels were disabled, caught in carefully timed traps. The battle raged for hours, but Lyra's calm observation never wavered. She noted patterns in the enemy's movements, exploited predictable reactions, and coordinated her team with precision that amazed even the humans themselves. When the last mercenary ship surrendered, the human convoy was safe, with minimal losses. Lyra's crew cheered quietly, but Lyra herself remained focused. She knew that victory was not about glory, it was about understanding, adapting, and surviving. The news reached the Council. Whispers turned into astonishment. Some alien diplomats were stunned. They had expected disaster, a humiliating defeat that would confirm their low opinion of humans. Instead, a small group of humans had defeated a notorious mercenary fleet using intellect, coordination, and ingenuity. A spindly, multi-eyed diplomat approached her later. "Your tactics are not like anything we have seen," he admitted grudgingly. "You outsmarted them." "Humans are clever than I thought." Lyra inclined her head politely. "Humans survive by thinking, not by relying on strength alone. We turn every challenge into an opportunity if we observe carefully and act decisively." Her words, simple but confident, spread quickly through the Council. The ridicule of yesterday was fading, replaced with a mixture of curiosity, caution, and growing respect. Yet not all were impressed. A few council members saw her victory as a fluke, a stroke of luck that would not repeat. Lyra expected this. She knew that true respect would come not from a single battle, but from a series of actions that demonstrated consistent intelligence, courage, and adaptability. Days later, the council arranged a series of tests to evaluate her abilities further. One was a negotiation exercise, designed to see if humans could understand alien politics and survive high-stakes discussion. Another was a strategy simulation, a virtual war game against elite alien commanders. The third was a test of adaptability, an unexpected scenario where human ingenuity would be challenged. The negotiation exercise began with a tense scenario. Two alien species, longtime rivals, were at odds over a contested mining planet. The council asked Lyra to mediate. Her small human frame stood before towering diplomats with complex languages and shifting alliances. She listened. Every word, every hesitation, every glance was data. She noted how each species reacted to pressure, what they valued, and where their pride or greed might betray them. When she finally spoke, her words were simple, clear, and honest. She proposed solutions that considered each party's interests, often highlighting advantages they had overlooked. Slowly, the tension eased. Both sides nodded in agreement, impressed not by her power or authority, but by her insight and clarity. Next came the war game simulation. Elite alien commanders designed an intricate virtual battlefield, expecting humans to make mistakes. Lyra analyzed the terrain, enemy behavior, and the weaknesses in the simulation's algorithms. She instructed her team to use unconventional strategies, combining human ingenuity with precise timing. Where others relied on brute force, humans exploited patterns, anticipated enemy moves, and struck with precision. The alien commanders were forced to admit defeat, stunned by the efficiency of her tactics. Finally, the adaptability test. Without warning, Lyra's team faced a scenario where their ships were disabled, supplies were limited, and communication lines jammed. Most species would panic, but humans thrived under pressure. Lyra led her team in improvising repairs using minimal resources, coordinating movements manually, and using the environment to create advantages. They completed the objective with remarkable efficiency, proving that human creativity and problem-solving were not only valuable, they were lethal when combined with courage and discipline. By the end of these tests, the council could no longer dismiss her. Aliens who had laughed at her before now looked at her with cautious respect. Even those who remained skeptical could not deny the results. Lyra herself did not celebrate. She knew the galaxy was vast, full of threats far more dangerous than simulations or rogue fleets. But she allowed herself a moment of quiet satisfaction. She had demonstrated that humans were not fragile, naive, or weak. They were adaptable, intelligent, and capable of surprising even the most advanced species. As she left the hall, Elias caught up with her. "You've done more than survive, Princess," he said. "You've changed the way they see humanity, but remember they will be watching. The moment you show hesitation or doubt, they will exploit it." Lyra smiled faintly, her eyes reflecting the stars outside. "Let them watch," she said. "The galaxy is full of mistakes waiting to be made. I will be ready when they take them. Humans have patience, and patience is a weapon that many underestimate." Later, in her quarters, she reviewed the data from the council exercises. Patterns emerged, weaknesses in alien thought, biases, and assumptions. She studied their strategies not to copy them, but to outthink them. Every laugh, every sneer, every doubt had been a lesson. Lyra thought of her home planet, of the humans who had endured centuries of challenges, adapting to every hardship thrown at them. She thought of her people, small yet resilient, and she knew that human ingenuity was underestimated not because it was lacking, but because it was different. The galaxy would soon learn this difference. The next mission would test her in ways the Council could not simulate. A message arrived. An alien sector far from human space faced a natural disaster, threatening millions of lives. The Council debated who should respond. Lyra saw an opportunity. This was not a battle, not a test, but a chance to demonstrate human precision and humanity. She began planning immediately, studying stellar maps, environmental conditions, and alien infrastructure. Every decision, every resource allocation was meticulously calculated. Her goal was not just to assist, They expected humans to fail, but to do so in a way that left no doubt about human capability. As she prepared, she whispered to herself, "They laughed at the human princess. They still do, but they will see precision is not a gift, it is a choice. And humans choose wisely." The stars outside the station seemed to respond, shimmering with possibility. Lyra felt the familiar thrill of anticipation. Challenges awaited, dangers lurked, and skepticism surrounded her. But with every observation, every calculated action, the human princess grew stronger, sharper, and more respected. By the time the human strike team departed, they were ready, not just to survive, but to demonstrate that humans were not to be underestimated. The galaxy had seen only a glimpse of human potential. The rest would come in time, as Lyra and her people proved, step by step, strike by strike, with deadly precision. The Galactic Council chamber was quiet that morning, a tension hanging in the air like thick mist. Rumors of the human princess's accomplishments had spread throughout the station. Her victory over the rogue mercenaries and her success in simulations had changed the tone of whispers, from mockery to cautious respect. Yet, some council members remained doubtful. A human could not possibly match the experience of species that had ruled space for centuries, they thought. Lyra Solen entered the hall with her usual calm composure. She had trained herself to move without haste, to observe without reacting, and to speak only when necessary. Every detail mattered: the sway of a tentacle, the flicker of an iris, the posture of an alien diplomat. Nothing escaped her notice. The council's elders, the most skeptical of all, sat perched like ancient statues, waiting to see if this human princess could continue her streak of brilliance. Today was designed to test her further. The council had arranged 3 rigorous challenges. The first was a negotiation exercise, simulating a complex interstellar dispute. The second was a strategic battle simulation, pitting her against elite alien commanders. The third was a sudden, improvised test of adaptability, where the unexpected would be the only constant. Lyra knew the council intended to humiliate her, to show the galaxy that humans could not match seasoned species. She intended to prove them wrong. The negotiation exercise began. 2 alien factions were locked in conflict over a newly discovered resource-rich planet. The factions were fierce, proud, and unwilling to compromise. The council turned to Lyra. Could she mediate a solution? Could a human, small and young, bring peace where ancient grudges had endured for centuries? Lyra listened. Every word, every pause, every subtle signal was information. One faction valued prestige above all else, while the other prized profit. One leader reacted violently to direct confrontation, the other preferred subtle persuasion. Lyra observed, taking mental notes, tracing patterns of pride, greed, and fear. When she spoke, her words were simple but carefully crafted. She acknowledged the strengths and rights of both factions, presenting a solution that allowed each to achieve their goals without undermining the other. She suggested phased resource-sharing agreements, timed rotations, and mutual oversight, an idea that seemed to satisfy both parties. The factions, initially tense and dismissive, nodded in approval, their anger replaced with cautious optimism. A murmur passed through the council chamber. Even the most skeptical alien diplomats could not deny the elegance of her solution. It was not flashy, not a show of power, but it worked. Lyra smiled faintly. Humans did not need brute force to succeed. Observation, intelligence, and empathy often mattered more. Next came the strategic battle simulation. The council had designed a complex virtual battlefield with multiple layers of defense, enemy units, and environmental hazards. Elite alien commanders were confident that the human princess would fail. They had underestimated human ingenuity before, and they expected it again. Lyra studied the battlefield carefully. The enemy had heavily fortified positions but predictable patrol patterns. She instructed her team to avoid direct confrontation initially, instead using feints, decoys, and unexpected maneuvers. Each human crew member knew their role, and Lyra coordinated them like a conductor leading an orchestra. The battle unfolded with precision. Her team drew enemy units into traps, disrupted communication lines, and used environmental features to their advantage. Lyra anticipated every counterattack, adjusting strategies in real time. The elite alien commanders, despite their experience, struggled to match her foresight. One by one, their units were neutralized in ways that seemed effortless. By the end of the simulation, Lyra's team had won decisively. The council members watched in stunned silence. Humans, they had thought, could not survive complex strategy games against seasoned aliens. Yet here was a human princess, not only surviving but excelling, turning prediction and precision into a weapon more powerful than firepower alone. The final test was sudden and unexpected. The council presented a scenario with multiple simultaneous emergencies: system failures in a distant colony, an outbreak of a rare pathogen, and a small fleet trapped in an asteroid belt. The twist was that communication and conventional resources were severely limited. Most species would panic in such chaos. Humans thrived. Lyra's mind raced. She allocated resources with careful calculation, prioritizing the most urgent crises while keeping secondary problems contained. She instructed her team to improvise repairs, use natural resources from asteroid debris, and coordinate manually where electronic communication failed. Every move required observation, adaptation, and quick thinking. Hours passed in the simulation. The challenges came fast, each one testing her ability to react to the unexpected. Yet the humans remained calm, focused, and effective. They solved problems the council had not anticipated, using creativity and logic that went beyond conventional tactics. When the simulation ended, every crisis had been mitigated. The council was forced to admit that the human team's performance had been extraordinary. Lyra herself was exhausted, but she allowed herself a moment of quiet pride. Humans were underestimated not because they were weak, but because they approached problems differently. Where others relied on tradition, humans relied on observation. Where others depended on raw strength, humans depended on intelligence and adaptability. And where others sought glory, humans sought solutions. After the challenges, some council members approached her personally. "You have surprised us," said one, a winged diplomat with iridescent feathers. "Your approach, it is unlike anything we have encountered." "Humans are cleverer than I realized." Lyra inclined her head politely. "We survive by thinking, not by acting blindly," she said. "Observation and precision are our tools. Every action has a purpose, and every decision is deliberate." Even the skeptical members of the council began to take note. Whispers of admiration spread quietly, like sparks lighting dry kindling. The laughter that had once greeted her now had no place. Humans were no longer a novelty. They were a force to be respected, if not yet fully understood. Later, Lyra returned to her quarters. Elias was waiting, his expression a mix of pride and concern. "You have done more than survive, Princess," he said softly. "You have shown the galaxy that humans are not to be underestimated. But remember, the moment they think you are complacent, they will test you again. Always be ready." Lyra nodded. "I understand," she replied. "This is just the beginning. There are challenges we cannot yet see, and enemies who will assume they can defeat us. But I am ready. Humans are patient, and patience is a weapon many forget to respect." She studied the reports from the day's challenges, noting patterns, strategies, and weaknesses in alien thinking. Every laugh, every doubt, every underestimation had been a lesson. She would use this knowledge to anticipate threats, plan strategies, and prove that human ingenuity was a force to be reckoned with. The next week brought a real test. A distant sector reported a natural disaster. A massive energy storm threatened a populated system. The council debated who should respond. Most species saw the humans as expendable, sending minimal aid or delaying action. Lyra saw an opportunity. This was not a battle, not a test, but a chance to demonstrate human skill, precision, and humanity. She requested permission to lead a mission. The council debated again, some skeptical, others curious. Finally, they agreed, more out of curiosity than respect. Lyra assembled her team, carefully planning every detail. Navigation, supply allocation, disaster response, and communication were all meticulously coordinated. The energy storm posed immense risks, but the humans were prepared to act with precision and ingenuity. The mission began. Lyra guided her fleet through dangerous regions of space, avoiding unstable energy currents, asteroids, and damaged infrastructure. When they reached the affected system, they found that conventional rescue methods were impossible. Humans improvised, using small, agile ships to stabilize failing stations, evacuate civilians, and repair critical systems. The aliens watching from afar were astonished. No species had undertaken such a precise, calculated rescue. Humans moved efficiently, anticipating problems before they became critical, using creativity to overcome obstacles. Lives were saved, infrastructure preserved, and the system stabilized, all without unnecessary risk. By the time the mission concluded, the Galactic Council was forced to acknowledge human capability. The whispers of mockery had disappeared entirely. Humans, once considered weak and naive, were now recognized as clever, adaptable, and capable of remarkable feats. Lyra returned to the station quietly, her expression calm. She knew this was only the beginning. The galaxy was vast, full of threats and opportunities. Humans would continue to be underestimated, but that was a strength. Every assumption, every doubt, every slight provided an opening for humans to demonstrate their intelligence, precision, and courage. Elias met her at the docking bay. "You have done the impossible again, Princess," he said. "But remember, they will watch your next moves even more closely. Some will try to challenge you directly." Lyra nodded, looking out at the stars. "Let them watch," she said softly. "Let them challenge us. Humans will always adapt. And when they least expect it, we will show them our precision. Step by step, action by action, the galaxy will understand what humans are capable of." That night, as she reviewed the data and logs from the mission, she felt a quiet satisfaction. Every victory, every challenge, every observation was a step toward a larger goal. Humans were underestimated not by accident, but because they were different. Different thinking, different approach, different strengths. And in a galaxy where arrogance was common, difference was power. Lyra's eyes shone with determination. She had faced mockery, danger, and doubt, and had emerged victorious. The galaxy had begun to notice, but she knew there was much more to prove. Humans were capable of incredible precision, unparalleled creativity, and unwavering courage. And she, the human princess, would ensure that no one forgot it. As the stars stretched endlessly outside her window, Lyra whispered to herself, "They laughed at us before. They will not again. Humans strike with precision, and the galaxy will remember it." The night passed quietly, but in the heart of the human princess burned a fire of resolve. Tomorrow would bring new challenges, new missions, and new opportunities. And Lyra Solen would face them all with the same calm confidence, sharp mind, and deadly precision that had begun to earn humans a place among the stars. The Galactic Council had never faced a threat like this. A warlord from a distant sector, notorious for his cunning and ruthlessness, had declared his intent to seize control of critical systems and challenge the authority of the Council itself. Entire fleets had been dispatched to stop him, yet reports indicated repeated failures. His strategies were unpredictable, his fleet strong, and his motives unyielding. The Council debated endlessly, unable to find a decisive solution. Lyra Solen stood quietly in the observation chamber, her emerald eyes fixed on the display showing the warlord's movements. For once, the room was silent, no laughter, no mockery, only the weight of fear and uncertainty from species who had ruled space for centuries. Lyra felt the familiar thrill of anticipation. This was not a test or a simulation. This was real. And she knew humans had a role to play. "Princess," Elias said softly, joining her side, "this is dangerous, even for you, even for humans. The warlord's fleet is formidable. One miscalculation and—" Lyra placed a hand on his shoulder. "I know," she said calmly. "But the Council is paralyzed. They are arguing while lives and systems are at risk. Humans may not have the largest fleet or the most advanced weapons, but we have something they often forget: precision, strategy, and adaptability. If we act carefully, we can turn this situation to our advantage." Permission to intervene was finally granted, though many Council members still doubted her abilities. They allowed her to lead a small, specialized strike team, confident that even if she succeeded, humans would only have a small impact. They underestimated her, as always. Lyra began planning immediately. She studied the warlord's fleet patterns, analyzing weaknesses, predictable behaviors, and potential overconfidence. She mapped routes through asteroid fields, debris clouds, and energy anomalies that could be used for cover. Every detail mattered. Every calculation had to be perfect. Her crew was smaller than the warlord's, but highly trained and coordinated. Each human had a specialized role: navigation, communications, weapons, repairs, and strategy. They worked like a single organism, moving with synchronicity that only humans, through countless adaptations and training, could achieve. As they approached the warlord's fleet, Lyra's plan came into action. Instead of attacking head-on, she divided her team into precise formations, using smaller ships to lure portions of the enemy into traps. They moved through asteroid belts, timing every maneuver to take advantage of gravitational shifts and blind spots in enemy sensors. The first clash was tense. The warlord's flagship sent a squadron to intercept Lyra's team. The alien pilots, confident in their superior firepower, underestimated the humans' coordination. Lyra had anticipated their moves. Small ships darted between asteroids, striking with precise timing, disabling engines and weapons without exposing themselves to heavy fire. The warlord's fleet reacted quickly, attempting to regroup and overwhelm the human ships. Lyra anticipated this too. She directed a calculated retreat through a debris field that neutralized the enemy's larger ships, forcing them to navigate hazards that slowed their response. Meanwhile, human ships struck at critical points with surgical precision, targeting control nodes, communications arrays, and weapon systems. Hours passed in a tense ballet of strategy and movement. Lyra remained calm, directing her team with subtle gestures and concise commands. Every action had a purpose. Every decision was calculated. The warlord's fleet, though powerful, was gradually crippled by human ingenuity, coordination, and precision. The turning point came when Lyra identified a flaw in the warlord's flagship defense, a blind spot in the shield matrix, exposed briefly during maneuvers. She coordinated a simultaneous strike by multiple ships, exploiting the moment. Energy beams hit the weak points exactly as calculated, disabling the flagship's shields and weapons temporarily. The human strike team boarded remotely, using precision drones to infiltrate key systems. Inside the flagship, automated systems guided by human engineers disrupted the warlord's command network. Alarms blared across the control room as the crew struggled to regain control. Lyra monitored every movement, every response, adjusting her strategy in real time. Within moments, the flagship was under human control, without unnecessary destruction or loss of life. The warlord, realizing his flagship was compromised, attempted to flee. Lyra anticipated this as well. Human ships cut off escape routes, forcing the warlord to surrender. The fleet around him, seeing the precision and coordination of the human strike, followed suit. The battle, which could have cost thousands of lives, ended decisively and efficiently. When the news reached the Galactic Council, there was astonishment. The warlord, notorious and feared, had been captured by a small human team. No massive fleet, no prolonged warfare, no catastrophic loss, only careful observation, precise strategy, and fearless execution. The Council could no longer dismiss humans as naive or weak. Diplomats approached Lyra personally, some hesitantly, others with genuine admiration. "Princess," said a spindly, multi-eyed diplomat, "your actions, they are remarkable. Humans are capable of more than we imagined." Lyra inclined her head. "We survive because we think, adapt, and act with precision. Strength alone does not win battles. Intelligence, coordination, and careful planning often do." Elias joined her, pride evident in his eyes. "You've done it again, Princess. You've not only saved lives, but changed the perception of humanity across the Council. No one can ignore your skill now." Lyra smiled faintly, though her mind remained focused. The galaxy was vast, full of potential threats and opportunities. One victory did not mean the work was done. Humans would continue to be underestimated, but that would be their advantage. Every doubt, every assumption, every misjudgment by other species created openings for precision and ingenuity to prevail. In the days that followed, Lyra and her team assisted in stabilizing regions affected by the warlord's previous raids, repairing infrastructure, and restoring communication networks. Their efforts were recognized not just for their effectiveness, but for the efficiency and care with which they acted. The humans were no longer seen as weak, they were respected, even admired. The Galactic Council officially acknowledged Lyra's contribution. While some still harbored doubt or envy, the majority could not deny that humans had earned their place among the stars. The young princess had proven that courage, intelligence, and precision could outmatch raw power and centuries of experience. Lyra returned to her quarters, looking out at the endless stars. She reflected on the journey, from mockery in the council hall to decisive victories in battle and diplomacy. Humans were small in the galaxy, yet they possessed qualities that others often overlooked: creativity, adaptability, and an unwavering will. She knew that these qualities, combined with careful observation and calculated action, would continue to surprise and impress. Elias joined her quietly. "The galaxy is watching now," he said. "Some with respect, some with caution, but they are watching. Your next moves will matter even more." Lyra nodded. "I know," she said softly, "but humans are ready. We are precise, we are adaptable, and we never give up. The galaxy will understand this, not because we demand recognition, but because we show it through action." She studied the stars, imagining the challenges ahead. The galaxy was vast, but humans had proven that even the smallest forces, if intelligent and precise, could shape events on a scale larger than expected. She smiled faintly, thinking of Earth, of the resilience and ingenuity of her people, and of the countless opportunities that awaited. In her heart, Lyra knew that the victory over the warlord was not just a single battle. It was a message. Humans were underestimated, yes, but that made them formidable. Every challenge ahead, every skeptical glance, every doubt cast upon them was an opportunity. Precision, intelligence, and courage could overcome even the most powerful adversaries. The Council formally recognized Lyra's leadership and strategic brilliance. Her victories became lessons for other species, examples of human potential and the power of careful, calculated action. She was no longer the princess laughed at in the council hall. She was a symbol, a human capable of extraordinary achievements. And yet, Lyra remained humble. She knew that the galaxy would continue to present challenges, some greater than any faced before. But she also knew that humans, underestimated though they were, could rise to meet them. She had turned mockery into respect, doubt into recognition, and the limitations others placed on her people into opportunities for excellence. The stars outside the station stretched endlessly, a reminder of the vastness of space and the countless adventures yet to come. Lyra Solen, the human princess, stood ready. The galaxy had witnessed her precision, her intelligence, and her courage. They had laughed at her once. They would never laugh at humans again. With every decision, every calculated action, and every mission completed, the reputation of humanity grew. Humans were not the strongest, the fastest, or the most technologically advanced species, but they were clever, adaptable, and precise, and in a galaxy that underestimated them, that was their greatest strength. Lyra smiled softly, knowing that the path ahead would be filled with challenges. She was ready. Humans were ready. And the galaxy, wide and infinite as it was, would learn to respect the power of precision, the strength of intelligence, and the resilience of humanity. The stars outside twinkled as if in silent approval. Lyra knew that the laughter of the past had been replaced by the quiet awe of the present. And she, the human princess, would continue to strike with deadly precision, showing the galaxy that humans were a force unlike any other. They laughed at the human princess until she struck with deadly precision,